Okay, Jonas Reingold here, one of the premier bass players in the world, in the Steve Hackett band, and also you're doing all types of other recording projects. So, Jonas, thanks for your time. I know you're pretty busy now rehearsing for the next round of Steve Hackett shows, right?
Yeah, correct. And thank you for having me.
Oh,
Always pleasure to
absolutely.
talking to you.
It was
Yeah.
pleasure meeting you backstage in Red Bank at your show. So it was very nice of you. Just
Yeah, it was the first time for me in Red Bank. So yeah, I took a walk to the train station and took a picture of this big statue of not big statue,
oh,
the
okay, yeah.
statue of Count Basie because I played a lot of his arrangements over the years in big bands and everything. So yeah, that was cool.
I want to talk to you about that because you're a big jazz. You love jazz music. I remember we spoke a little bit about that. So, are your early days influenced by jazz, playing music?
Yeah, well, the absolute early days were like a lot of hard rock, the bands from the 70s, like Deep Purple.
Oh, I love them.
Loved Kiss and Jimi Hendrix and all that, and the Rainbow, and and then early 80s I went over to more the British wave of heavy metal with Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, all those guys, and then when I was like 14, 15, I discovered jazz and Jack Pastorius in
Oh, yeah.
particular, and started to dive into that universe. And I stayed there many years and studied music and got a degree in at the university in Sweden
Oh,
and all that. So,
fantastic.
so,
And then were
so
you
I have a
listen
master's yeah.
in Masters in Music?
Yeah, and that is it was a jazz education I attended. So yeah, so I graduated 94. Yeah,
So you were doing were you interested in progressive music at that time, like those type of bands that,
of course,
Genesis?
when I was like 13, 14, 15 years old, I listened to Genesis and jazz and all that, but they were like contemporary music. They were in the charts
Right.
with their pop years. Both bands. So I discovered Genesis like at that time, and there was a
Mm.
friend of mine that told me like, yeah, Genesis is an old band. Oh, really, really? Okay, okay. This was before internet, and you didn't know those things. There was people telling you this information.
Right. I'm
So listen to this, and he played me "Selling England by the Pound." Yeah, what? It doesn't sound like Genesis, you know.
yeah.
And yeah, this guy Peter Gabriel singing. What? The Sledgehammer guy? Yeah, 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 with him. uh,
Yeah, that's something.
that's how I got introduced to the older stuff
Mm.
of that era. Of course, I listened to Rush and all that as well, and especially the 70s stuff.
That
So
was such an exciting time for music, even, that late 60s up until like the mid to late 70s. So many great
yeah,
bands came out in Europe.
yeah, it was a
Ah,
special time. Like the late 60s. People they experimented a lot. It was a strong people movement
yes,
and awareness, and people wanted something. We went to the moon and we took drugs
that's
and
true.
expanding our minds, and it was. And the music was, I think, was reflecting that somehow as well. And you were allowed to play like 20 minutes pieces, and be played on the radio even. Like it was good times for music. Good times for music, I think.
Bands were really able to develop back then too. The record label just didn't say, "Hey, you didn't have a hit, forget it." They let groups like really evolve and become something. And that
Yeah,
was
yeah. You had longer stretch of time to actually say what you have to say.
yes.
You got like 3 albums, and uh, yeah, it was exciting times. So I wish I was born like 20 years before. Then, yeah.
Well, you're still doing great work now, so it doesn't, it reflects on how great you play. But let's talk about this Swedish Bass Orchestra. I saw that. That must have been an interesting project.
Yeah, it was actually my first real album I did. It was back
Okay.
in the early 90s. The real album as a band leader. I wrote all the arrangements and put the
Hmm.
band together. And yeah, it was a project that I started at university. And, we played with my friends. And then we decided to make an album, and I proposed, let's have a guest, like call this guy Niels-Henning Ørsted Pedersen. He
Hmm.
recorded with everybody, like thousands and thousands of albums. He was Dexter Gordon's house
Oh,
bass
okay.
player. He
Hmm.
played with Joe Pass. He played with Oscar Peterson, all the jazz greats, you name it. He played with everyone. And for me, it was just so exciting. I was a young guy,
I
like, and
imagine.
here, yeah, and in comes this guy that I looked up to so much, and done everything. So for me, it was a special. I remember this recording very well. It was a special day,
I can
and we
imagine.
recorded the whole album in one day. That's what we did in the old days.
That sometimes works out great though, because it's spontaneous. You're all
Yeah,
feeling it, and if you have the right musicians, it always works. Because
yeah,
if
yeah.
you
And
have the right chemistry, it's going to always work.
everybody meets up in the same room. We recorded it on tape, so there was no chance for fiddling around and editing. So what got recorded on the tape stayed,
Yeah,
and it was just a very fun and organic way of recording. And I miss those days
yeah,
sometimes, because nowadays we're sending mostly files around the globe, and which is fine because it's cheap. You don't have to travel, you don't have to rent these big studios,
right.
and so on. So it's understandable, but it's something getting lost in the connection somehow when
It
you do
is.
it
It
that way.
is. I mean, it's not the same. If you're in the same room together, it's the energy's there, the vibe is there, as opposed to you're sending a
Yeah,
file to somebody, hey, play on this record. It
yeah,
just
yeah.
doesn't have the same feel.
No, no,
I,
no, it feels like an office job when you do that. Oh, then you have to, and you never, maybe not even meeting the guys playing ever.
right, right. That's true. So talk about the Flower Kings. I mean, you were part of them in what, 1999 you joined?
Yeah, that's correct. So I
Great
was
band.
part, yeah, I was part of the band for 22 years, actually. So no, we are still on good terms, so it was nothing like that. It was just a schedule thing, because I was holding the band back a little bit, because I was playing so much with Steve Hackett, and after COVID, when they
Hmm.
rebooked the canceled shows, 22 came, and I looked at my schedule and talked to Royner, the guitar player,
Right,
and
right.
said
Spoke to
and said
him.
like, I I have 2 weeks free in 22 for touring, like, and of course that's just ridiculous. So I said, like, maybe it's time for me to leave the bass chair, and so on. So yeah, unfortunately, but that's just life, and you have to have a job, you have to make money as well, and
Yes. And you can't be
it's
being in
it
Steve Hackett's band, I mean,
yeah,
you're at the
and
top.
yeah, that it's really hard to turn down that band, because Steve
Oh,
Steve is playing so much, and this legendary music, and big shows, and yeah,
I
you
was there.
just
I
have to
saw
do
it.
it.
I saw one of your big shows. It
Mm.
was fantastic. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody played so great. And then there's the band Agents of Mercy. What was that about, that group? You did three albums, right?
Yeah, we did 3 albums. It was a little side thing, I would say, because Flower Kings was on hiatus there for a few years, and Roine still wanted to do some progressive rock with vocals. So we did actually a couple of projects there. We did Agents of Mercy. We did also an instrumental project called Third World Electric.
Okay. Hmm.
that was released 2009, I guess. And with Dave Weckl on drums, this
Oh,
fusion
yeah, I've heard of him.
drummer.
Yeah, he's a great
Yeah, yeah.
drummer.
So that was a fun project as well. And yeah, we did 3 albums, and we toured a little bit. We did like a combo thing with Agents of Mercy and Car Mechanic, my band, and the same players playing two different repertoires, you know.
Now, Ned was playing in that band also? Was Ned
Yeah,
still?
yeah,
Yeah.
Ned was singing in Agents of Mercy, yeah. Yeah.
He's a great singer. I just spoke with Ned, and he's just a really great guy, and so devoted to playing and getting everything right.
Yeah, yeah, of course, you know, you better. There's 1,500 people out there every night, you know.
Right, and
You,
you have a big following. I mean, everybody knows
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
and everybody knows the songs, you know, so you really have to play it well because you cannot get it away with it, you know, by
right,
being
right.
sharp. You know, you have to play the music
Have you
as
heard
good
the
as you can.
have you heard the Musical Box band? Have you
Yeah,
ever?
yeah, yeah, of course, of course.
They do an
Yeah,
amazing job.
yeah, 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 absolutely. The difference between Musical Box and Steve Hackett Band, even though we sometimes play the same repertoire and the same songs and covering like the same era of Genesis, I think we always try to do uh, our own touch to it. You know,
I
we're
see that.
blending in like saxophone, and we have extended solos, and we do stuff. You know, so we don't only becomes a covers band. We're trying to have our original flavor to it, you know.
Yeah,
But
because I
still,
know
you
that. Yeah,
know,
because I noticed they try to play it note for note exactly. You
yeah,
know,
they trying to be as close as
but you guys
possible.
have room to
Yeah,
improvise
yeah,
on
yeah,
Birth
yeah,
the
a little
Fifth
bit.
and suppers at the end. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, we're doing, and of course, we have one original guy on that stage, which is very important. That Steve is with us, and of course, that's the biggest change, I think. So
so
it doesn't feel really that you're a covers band, you know.
right. So how did you meet Steve Hackett to get in this band, his band?
Yeah, I met him actually many years ago. I think I was at a show 2003
Okay.
when they played in my hometown, and I was on Inside Out at that time, and Thomas Baber asked me, "Yeah, talk to Steve when he comes to Malmö, and maybe ask him to be a guest on your record."
Okay.
So I went to the gig and saw the show and talked to him afterwards and gave him a CD, which he probably never listened to.
Yes,
But
I think.
anyway, I did it, and that was the first time I met him. And then we've been running into each other on festivals and all kinds of places. And I got friends with everybody in the band because we are in the same universe. And
Mm,
you know, I've been here now since for 20, yeah, 7 years actually since I.
wow. I didn't realize that. That's
Well,
great.
yeah, 99 when I started with Flower Kings. Yeah, it's 27 years ago.
So
Amazing.
what's going to happen now with Roger King not in the band? You're working with a new keyboardist, right?
Yeah, yeah, we have our my good friend Lalle Larsson in the band now. I recommended him to
Mm,
for this because I think he's one of the few I can think of to do this gig properly. And
mm,
yeah, he's just amazing. We have rehearsed a couple of days now, and he did a tremendous job at home. So he really did his homework, and
mm.
I think Steve is very satisfied, and everybody is very satisfied. So it will be fun. It's a little bit different, of course. Roger played with Steve like 30 years, something like that, and yeah, but it will be great.
I'm
I
sure it
promise you
will.
that.
I
Yeah.
mean, you guys are top-notch professionals. I mean, it's no doubt about that. Now, are you going to be doing a Steve Hackett set again of his solo music, or is it
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay?
That's what he always want to do, and I think the reason he does that is because I think if you ask, probably ask the audience, they just want like 3 hours of Genesis. That's it, bang, bang, bang. Like.
Yeah.
But for Steve, it's important to feel a little bit contemporary, to release new albums, play solo stuff, and also do that in the same with the same dedication as doing the Genesis stuff.
I loved your solo. I mean, that was just
Oh,
really great. I mean, you just built it up well. That's what I loved
yeah,
about it. You really build it up to a crescendo there. And then,
yeah.
also Rob had a chance to solo also in
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah, but
set.
Steve is very generous in that way, he's letting us do our thing, and it's important, I think, if you have good players in the band,
Mm.
we have ambition as well, like to say something during an evening, and he's very kind there to let us do that and have a good stage to do it on.
You're lucky to be still last year still be able to tour in the States, from Europe, despite now it's so hard for bands to get over here to
Yeah,
play.
no,
Very
yeah, yeah.
difficult.
Yeah, it's not only difficult financially, it's also difficult politically, like
Oh yeah,
it's tougher to get visas and working permits and stuff. And but we're lucky we have Sony in the back, they're helping us a lot. We have a American lawyer that takes care
that's
of
good.
all the papers and all that. So I think we will still come over many times more.
I hope
Uh,
so. I hope to see you
yeah.
again here in New Jersey, New York area again.
Yeah.
Didn't see it on the schedule for this year, but maybe if you guys are going to
No,
come next year.
No, since we did America 25, quite extensive tour, it was 7 weeks. We will play a few shows in Florida in like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, let's hear about that. You're
So
doing the cruise from the edge?
Cruise to the Edge, yes. And before that, we're playing, I think it's 4 dates in Florida. So
Okay.
we play in Fort Lauderdale, we play Orlando, Ponte Vedra. Is that the name? Ponte Vedra? Ponte Vedro? Uh, on the East Coast. And I think we played Tampa as well, if
Okay.
I remember it right.
Well, that gets you a little warm up for the cruise, and then
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
then you embark on a big European tour, right? After that?
Yeah, yeah. Steve he's going to South America for like a couple of weeks and playing with Genetics.
Oh yeah, they're great. I know those guys.
Yeah, yeah. And doing something there. And then he comes back, and we're doing Europe in May and the first week of June. So, yeah, it's quite busy now in the spring, and that's great. A bit really busy for Steve, of course. And but I will have some chance to work on my own stuff
Yeah, I'd
in
like to hear about
March and
that.
April.
Yeah, what are you
Yeah.
going to be working on? What's some new projects you're going to be doing?
I'm currently started to write on a new album. I released an album last year, Core Mechanic, with lots of people. Simon Phillips on drums, Nick DeVirgilio on drums,
Hmm.
Craig Blundell on drums. I had so many guests on that, like 20 guests. The project is called Core Mechanic, and we released 5 studio albums so far.
Okay.
Uh, I started that like 2002, so it's been like my side project over the years. But I will try to be more focused now on it and release a little bit, you know, quicker.
Hmm.
So I will start. I have already started to compose a little bit, so I will have some composing months in March and April
Good.
and try to focus on that, and hopefully be ready with an album late this year and for release 27.
Now,
That's
do you
that's
have
what
a
I'm
record
hoping.
label that puts the music out on vinyl or CD or just
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
digital?
yeah, 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 yeah. All of that. Uh, I think the last Core Mechanic was release number 22 for my record label. So
Hmm.
I released quite some albums on that, and Agents of Mercy and Car Mechanic, the live album. I had a live album from the Flower Kings tour Kaput. I did all the Lalle Larsson, the new keyboard player for Steve. I think
Mm.
we had 4 releases with him.
Wow.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff there. The Third World Electric with Dave Weckel and Royne and those guys was also on my label. So it's nice to have a little label. So
Yes, it
you can,
is, because that gives you, you just have to concentrate on the music
yeah,
and
yeah.
let the label do the work.
Yeah, at some time I have to, since I'm the label as well, I have to be a record executive at some
Mm.
point and sell the motherfucker. But that's fun, I separate those things, I'm concentrating on music first, and when I'm done on the album, I kind of think about how should I sell it now, how
Right.
should I do a video, how many interviews should I try to set up, and everything like that. So you have to nowadays you have to be a little bit like that,
I
different
know.
times. You cannot just be signed to a record label and think everything is happy-go-lucky. Uh,
Yeah, no.
um, but I'm also it's quite cool because I've been in the business for a long time, and so for me, it doesn't matter so much if I'm signed to Inside Out Sony or if I'm doing it myself. I will talk to the same people, doing the same interviews
Yeah.
anyway. So it's not a big difference actually. It's more work, yes, but the revenue is so much higher. If I sell one album, I
Mm.
will make so much more money from
Yeah.
one sold item. So
Well, maybe
yeah, it's inspiring.
playing with Steve kind of pays the bills, right? For you to do some of your own
Yeah,
music, right? That
yeah,
helps.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like a steady job, and you're
Mm.
right. That pays all the bills, so I can. And I work like 6 months a year for Steve, I would say, and the rest is my own time. So it's a good combination, I think.
Now I saw that you made a bass on Facebook. Is
Yeah,
that really looks great? I mean,
yeah. I will
talk
bring it
about that.
yeah, I will bring this bass on the tour now. So it's a project that started 1990.
Wow.
I put it together and I played on many records, but it was not finished. I didn't have any design or lacquer on it like that. And then I ran into a very talented artist called Julie Rapp Oakes, an
Okay.
American girl. And by coincidence, we had lunch. She
Hmm.
was a friend of Nad, I think. And she said, like, okay, I'm making designs for instrument. I'm a painter. All right, okay. Do you want to have a go on my bass? Yeah, I will bring it next time in America, and we meet up and you just have a go on it. And she did that, and I was
Wow.
just amazed. So now, finally, after 36 years, it's finished.
That's great. Are you going to bring that on tour with you to
Yeah,
go? I
yeah.
can't wait to see that. Because I'll be
And it
checking
sounds
on YouTube.
beautiful.
I'm sure I'll see some of the clips from
Yeah,
your tour there.
yeah.
So, anything else you want to add here? Because I really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy.
No. Just like I think it's important for us now, more important than ever, that everybody who supports music actually consume music. For us, it's very, very important that instead of just having a Spotify account or something like
Right.
watching on YouTube like for free, like support the artists every now and then. Go to the web page, order an album. It means the world to us.
I'm sure it does. This day and age, nobody wants to buy anything. They want everything for
No,
free.
no, no.
You
But
know.
the music will die. Like if we cannot make a living on it, and yeah. So I don't blame people to having all the Spotify accounts, but every now and then buy a CD.
Okay.
Just directly from the artist. That's what I would like to point out, and you will continue to get good music and the
Right.
best we
Well, you
can do.
guys certainly do that. So where can we find your music at? On your website?
Yeah. You can. I have a shop and everything. It's www.jonasreingold.com.
Okay.
se, like in
Okay.
Sweden. And there I have everything like downloads. You can, yeah, so
I'll
physical
let
copies,
everybody know.
whatever. Yeah, whatever you want to get there, and so
That
yeah.
that's great. Well, Jonas, thank you for your time. You guys are a great band. Anybody out there, go see Steve Hackett Band in Europe and in Florida and continue up the great music. I hope to see you maybe in 2027 back in Red Bank, maybe
Who knows?
with
I
Count
hope for
Basie,
that.
right? Count Basie
Yeah,
Theater.
absolutely. Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, Jonas, good luck
Nice.
with the
Yeah,
practicing and thank you again. And we'll talk soon
nice chat.
again. Take care.
Nice
Nice
chatting
talking.
with you.
Take
All
care,
right.
Jonas. Bye bye.